Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life. We won't live in the past. We're making it last.
A lot of us might wonder what is the secret for fulfilling life, whether personally or professionally? Welcome to Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. I'm Noreen Dealey, and that's what we're going to be unpacking this time around with Dr. Libby McGugan. She's a published author and she's a business coach. Welcome, Libby.
Thank you, Noreen. Lovely to be here.
What is the secret to a fulfilling life, whether personally or professionally?
I think it is living life as your true self, not as the person you've assumed yourself to be, the identity you've assumed through all the years of conditioning that we all have growing up and, from other people's opinions. And when you get to the point where you can get past all of that and come back to your true nature, which is before your personal thinking, you are naturally in a space where you are at peace with yourself and you are connected to yourself and to those around you. So one of the most important things I think people notice when they do this work is that they have a sense of peace in their lives that is fulfilling.
I want you to backtrack a little bit and go to that, because I love the assumed identity.
Yeah.
Which, of course, based on socialization and other factors. Why assumed, though, when growing up and whatever you're taught in schools and just over time, you learn that who you are and who you've become is based on how you've been socialized. But as you just said assumed identity. What's so quote unquote wrong with that?
Yeah, well, we think that's who we are. And in fact, it's not. It's an expression of who we assume ourselves to be from the thoughts that we've bought into, the beliefs that we've assumed to be true about ourselves. So, we, as a child, as a baby, we're born into the world and we're a blank slate.
Right.
We are present. We are, we respond if we're hungry, we cry. If we're sad, we cry. If we're happy, we giggle. We're present and authentic in the way we show up. But through years of conditioning, and it's all innocent, like nobody means to do this, but we do this to each other. We have thoughts about ourselves, we have thoughts about each other that we innocently assume are true. For example, we could have been told you're shy as a child. If you buy into that, that will become a belief system that you then express, and that becomes something that could limit you in your life, when in fact, who you really are is not any of those things. Who you are is far bigger than the personal thinking that we assume ourselves to be.
What then, though, happens? Let me use religion, for example. So for some of us who we over time, we've been exposed to a certain kind of thinking in terms of religion. And it gets to a point where you believe, I don't subscribe to all, I don't subscribe to some. And then others looking on will then say, but you're rebelling, what are you doing? Are you then saying that if I quote unquote get to that point, maybe it is that I'm basically going to my true nature?
Yeah, yes, and some people won't like it when we do this, unfortunately, but they're dealing with their thinking. You see, we think we're dealing with each other in relationships, and we're not. We're dealing with the thoughts that we're having about the other person, and they're dealing with their thoughts that they're having about us. Yeah. So there's this layer of thought of thinking on both sides that's in between, and they're all made up. They're not actually true. They're just assumptions. So when you can get past that and see the truth and the beauty in other people that is past all the thinking, you connect with them authentically. And each person has the freedom to be who they want to be with no judgment.
Yeah. I think you've kind of answered what I'm about to ask, but let me see. Because how then do you find this truth?
How do you find the truth? A great question. Truth is there. The truth is within you. Your truth feels good to you. Okay? It just feels naturally right. You know, from a place of integrity.
Mm-hmm.
And you really tune into your core and you listen. And a good way to do this is actually to get still. Maybe, focus on your breathing, but to allow yourself some stillness to actually listen. You can feel what's true for you. You can ask yourself the questions that are relevant for you, and you can feel if it sits comfortably with you. And you can also feel if you've got beliefs around that are not comfortable. So when you get clear about what thinking patterns are kind of holding you back from your truth and noticing them, you get a little bit of distance between you and the thinking. And when you let that settle down, you're back in that space where you can hear what feels true to you. Your truth will feel peaceful and it will feel right. I'm Dr. Libby McGugan, business coach and published author, and I'm here with Noreen Daly on Making It Last podcast. And now we are going to take a break with our partners.
I recently have been coached by the great Miss Noreen Daly. I own a video company. I'm also an online influencer. So I do a lot of speaking virtually and in person. She was able to point out some of my weaknesses that I didn't yet notice. And I 100% recommend Miss Noreen Daly as your coach.
Noreen Daly, redefining the way you communicate.
You can't live your best life without a healthy immune system. Boost your immune system the delicious way with Zappy's organic juices and punches. Made from local produce with zero added sugar, our juices cleanse and revitalize your body as they boost your natural immunity. Try our delicious flavors. Beat It, Berry Bomb, Get Fresh, Ton Up, and Island Splash. Find us on Instagram at Zappy's Organics or call or send a WhatsApp message at 1-876-779-8910 to order today. That's 1-876-779-8910. Zappy's Organic Juices and Punches. Live your best life today.
Making it last is all I care to do. You loving me, I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life.
Welcome back, and we'll continue the conversation.
I love that. But what you're saying though, Libby, sounds like it takes work, a lot of inner work, and for the most part, a lot of people are not prepared to do that, and it's very difficult sometimes for some of us to be still. What's your advice for that?
Absolutely. And people have busy lives, especially if you have children, it's nonstop. But it's not asking a lot to just become aware of those moments when you are open and feeling that with that sense of presence and spaciousness. You'll notice in those moments when you're feeling peaceful, you don't have a lot of thinking going on. You don't have a lot on your mind. So beginning to notice those moments, because they all happen spontaneously for us throughout the day, and noticing when we're caught up in our thinking, just realizing that that's all that's happening. I'm just caught in my thinking right now. That's why I'm tense. So I'm just going to give myself some space, take a few breaths. That's the easiest thing in the world to do. And it's actually one of the most powerful tools that we have available to us,
Yeah.
you know, apart from bringing your focus back to your breath and away from thinking, it resets your physiology. It changes all kinds of things, opens up the blood supply to your prefrontal cortex, which is your decision-making center. It reduces your blood pressure. It regulates, your heartbeat. It's a very powerful tool to just settle you and to settle your nervous system back down into that state where it's open and, functioning normally and not on high alert. Breathing's actually very powerful. And all I would suggest, actually, as a really helpful tool, is notice when you're feeling tense. Recognize, I'm just caught in my thinking right now. That's all that's happening. I'm going to take a few breaths, let it go, open up, and see how I feel from there.
Is this something that you practice, you've seen other people do? Is this something that you're living, so to speak?
Yeah, absolutely. And, that's the surface of it. That's the start of it. But simply doing that is a great start. But when you practice and you start to be interested enough to want to have the best experience in your life, then you will practice, because, you'll find that when you do and you become connected to that space of presence within you, the process of that unfolding within you starts to happen automatically. So the more you notice presence in yourself, the more it starts to arise in it within you. So you need, you do have to continually notice, but it doesn't take so much effort as you go on. So once you get the wheels turning, it begins to look after itself. It gets easier.
There's somebody who will watch this and listen to this and think, this sounds so, for want of a better word, utopic, because I just have so many, as a mentor, I would say, a lot of moving parts, so to speak. How easy is this to do?
Again, it depends where we're coming from. If we're caught in our thinking, it's hard, because we got to figure it all out from inside our personal minds, our egos, our intellects. That's hard because we're doing it on our own. But the more you practice this, the more you start to let go of thinking and trust that if you don't know what the answer is for one of your spinning or many spinning plates, the answer is not to keep thinking about it. Okay? If you can't figure it out straight away, the answer is to actually let go and allow yourself to open up, because when you do that, you've got access to fresh thinking that brings fresh solutions. So what people find is that actually life gets more efficient. It gets easier, even if you've got lots of spinning plates, because you've got access to more ideas and solutions that occur to you instead of having to figure it out, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
It's worth it. That's what I'm trying to say. It's so worth the effort.
Yeah. As we're winding down, though, if all of what you just said, you had to basically condense it into a 3-step process, what would that 3-step process be?
Notice how you're feeling. If you're feeling tense or contracted in some way, notice what you're thinking. Let it go. Take a deep breath and let it go.
Thank you so much for sharing, Libby.
You're welcome.
This was Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers.